rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am the aforementioned host, Rick. Well, the government is funded for another 7 months. Or 6, whatever it is. Anyway. Not really much of a surprise there. We kind of knew it was going to happen. I mean, let's be honest. But while we have to still deal with those Democrats, we've got a couple other morons that just won't go away. That's right. They just won't leave. You know, I tell them all the time, I'm like, hey, don't go away, man. Just go away. Just all we want is for you to go away. Who am I talking about? I'll tell you in just a few minutes. Let's go ahead and get things kicked off properly with a brand new submission to the rotation of the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight, we have the one, the only U.S. Abbey Girl leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So, if you are of mine, please stand. Remove your hat if you're wearing one, like me. Place your hand over your heart and join in with U.S. Abbey Girl as she recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I thank you, U.S. Abbey Girl, for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the Pledge of Allegiance played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting the pledge in your style, and then take that audio or video file, whatever it is, and attach it to an email address. Send it off to fans, F-A-N-S, at americanperspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at americanperspective.online. And I will get you into the rotation quickly. Yeah, that came in last night. It was fun. I tried to respond, but the way that it was sent, well, let's just say whatever the return, it kind of had a little bit of problems going back. I kept getting messages saying, we can't reach this person, but we'll keep trying. Anyway, I don't know what it was. It doesn't make a difference. The file got to me successfully, and so therefore everything is all good. All right. Yeah. U.S. Abbey Girl's blushing in the chat. Well, yeah, you did a good job. Hey, fantastic. All right. So tonight's headline sponsor is, of course, True Grit Roots Network. TGRN.net is our home on the web. And you know what? We have got fantastic news. I broke it earlier this week. And actually, we've been putting it all over the socials, too. We are teaming up with the fantastic Dallas Moore and creating a signature radio channel for outlaw country, outlaw southern rock, just basically outlaw music. So, starting April 7th, will be on TGRN, will be the Dallas Moore Outlaw Radio channel. And we're working in the background. We're getting things set up. We're getting things put together. And once we do, on April 7th, you'll be able to listen to the brand new channel, Dallas Moore Outlaw Radio, provided by True Grit Roots Network. It goes along with our Walter Trout Blues Rock Radio that we already have running right now that you can listen right now through the web at tgrn.net or through our app, which you can download at tgrn.net. Or if you already have the Live 365, Odyssey, AUDACY, or iHeartRadio apps on your phone, you can locate Walter Trout Blues Rock Radio and soon Dallas Moore Outlaw Radio in their catalog of digital radio stations. Go and check us out at tgrn.net. That's True Grit Roots Network, based out of Austin, Texas. And speaking of Texas, we are having launch parties for Dallas Moore Outlaw Radio on April 9th in New Braunfels, Texas at Green Hall. That's Grune Hall. And then we are also having a second launch party in Luckenbach, Texas on the 13th of April. And yes, that is the Luckenbach, Texas of song fame. We will be there. Dallas Moore will be in both places doing a concert, and we will be there as well. I will be there as personally, and we're hoping that everything works out right. We'll be streaming live from those two locations. And you can check us out at tgrn.net. More information on all of that to come. But just know April 7th is the launch of Dallas Moore Outlaw Radio on TGRN. And you can go and check us out at tgrn.net. All right. So, the Senate, last minute, like always, the Senate last minute went ahead and, the Senate went ahead and passed the funding bill to avert the government shutdown. The Democrats, many of them sat there and were like, oh, this is so horrible. I will not fund this. All I've been seeing on the socials all day from these morons are like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Yeah, well, you did it. 10 Democrats joined Republicans to advance the measure. Now, remember, this is a continuing resolution, and that meant that they needed 60 votes in order to pass it. And so that's why we ended up with 10 Democrats joining Republicans to do it. Now, Chuck Schumer himself went ahead and, announced at first he was against it, and then he changed within like an 8-hour time span. And apparently some other Senate Democrats jumped on board as well. So our government is funded for another 6 months. Just simply hours before the deadline. So the final vote was 54-46 on Friday evening. The legislation itself now heads to the desk of President Donald Trump, who is expected to sign the bill. That'll be the second one, I think, that he gets. And, or that he has signed. The Lake and Riley Act being the first one of his second term. So, yeah. So anyway, there you go. Senator Rand Paul did oppose the package, citing budget concerns. But, well, So let's talk a little bit about what the package actually has. It increases defense spending by about $6 billion, while cutting non-defense spending by $13 billion compared to last year's level. levels. Overall, the measure reduces spending by about $7 billion from the previous year. So, yeah, we ended up with, the situation that we needed. And we're apparently cutting some of the spending. 4 proposed amendments to the package, including one to reduce its duration to 30 days, and another one from Rand Paul to implement certain recommendations made by the Department of Government Efficiency, were defeated ahead of the bill's final passage in the Senate. Now, keep in mind, you could go and get mad about this, but just remember that had those amendments passed, had those changes passed in the Senate, it would have had to go back to the House. The House is in recess. And we would have had a government shutdown. So I'm not exactly sure what Paul was trying to do other than pose for the cameras, I guess, in terms of his entire thing. But okay, whatever. So an earlier procedural vote, which was 10 Democrats joining Republicans to advance the measure, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, Senate Minority Whip Dick Durbin, I'm amazed at that, Senators Catherine Cortez Masto, Dick Durbin, Brian Schatz, Gary Peters, Maggie Hassan, Kirsten Gillibrand, John Fetterman, Shaheen, and King all voted to advance the measure earlier. So there we go. The bill's advancement was due in a large part, to Schumer's announcement on Thursday that he would vote to avert the shutdown, describing it as the best of multiple bad options. Again, like I was telling you last night, the Republicans did a good job. I won't call it masterful, but did a good job of painting the Democrats into a corner with this whole thing. And so anyway, the minority leader, Schumer, previously said that Senate Democrats wouldn't have supported the bill, and thus Republicans wouldn't have had enough votes to pass it. So, yeah. Anyway, Trump congratulated Schumer by saying a non-pass would be a country destroyer. Approval will lead us to new heights. A really good and smart move by Senator Schumer. So anyway, they also passed, by the way, a voice vote of a bipartisan bill related to funding for Washington that reverses an approximately $1.1 billion cut to the city's budget included in the stopgap spending bill. Yeah, so Schumer, of course, defended his decision, by the way. He said minutes ahead of the cloture vote, which, remember, cloture is the voting process by which they bypass the 60 votes needed, or the filibuster votes needed kind of thing. So anyway, he said minutes ahead of the cloture vote on the 14th, the stopgap is a bad bill. But as bad as it is, I believe that allowing Donald Trump to take more power is worse. Rather than framing his support as a vote for the spending bill, Schumer framed it as a vote against a shutdown, which is interesting because I thought shutting down the government was bad. Well, I mean, he was advocating for shutting down the government earlier. Anyway, he said that Republicans were presenting Democrats with what's called a Hobson's choice, which is a choice that appears to offer 2 alternatives, but really only offers one realistic option. Like I said, they painted him into a corner. And they did a good job. Schumer said that a shutdown would enable Trump and Elon Musk to unilaterally implement many of the personnel and funding cuts proposed by the Department of Government Efficiency, and that this would be a result, of heightened authorities the president has during a shutdown to determine which employees and services are essential. And that is exactly why he decided to flip his vote. So, yeah. Like I said, the Democrats and the Republicans in the House, they got him. They tied him up quite well, actually, in the entire situation. So, now, keep in mind, Fetterman was the only Democrat who was openly supportive of the plan, saying that a shutdown would plunge the country into chaos and risk a recession. I don't quite agree with that. Because, I mean, again, essential services would have kept going forward. And we've gone through government shutdowns in the past, and yeah, not everything died. Not everybody dies. You know, it's not the world ending kind of thing or whatever. So, whatever. Anyway. Yeah. So there you go. Senator Tim Kaine, who I said voted against the package, also posted on X vehemently saying no, defended those who had joined Schumer. He said it was a very hard call, and I understand everybody has a very solid reason for their vote. Yeah. And Fetterman, of course, told the Epoch Times that the right thing sometimes isn't the popular one. And when he was asked if he had any concerns about Schumer's leadership, he basically said, I'm not going to pander to the far left. What the heck happened with that guy? I mean, really? All right. Well, as I said, a bunch of the Dems, other Dems who were trying to fight it, they basically were very emphatic about the whole thing. Top ranking Democrats like House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and sloshing vodka Nancy Pelosi. I don't want to call her Speaker Emerita or whatever. Anyway, have been hesitant to rubber stamp the move. Jeffries, during a press conference on Friday, dismissed questions about whether or not he has any confidence in Schumer. Pelosi did reject Schumer's plan in favor of the alternative 30-day funding bill, which was put forward by House Appropriations Committee ranking members Rosa DeLauro and my own Senator Patty Murray. She needs to retire. She needs to just go. Pelosi said in a statement on Friday, Democratic senators should listen to the women, saying that DeLauro and Murray have frequently presented the case that we must keep government open and negotiate a bipartisan agreement. We must fight back for a better way. Listen to the women for the people, she added. Yeah. Nope. 21 other Democrats signed on to a letter led by DeLauro urging Schumer to oppose the bill following his March 13th remarks. We urge all Senate Democrats to stand with House Democrats and with the American people, reject this funding bill, and force House and Senate Republicans back to the negotiation table. Yeah. Ro Khanna called for Democrats to take back the party and country with grassroots activists in blue and red districts to stand up for the Constitution and our democracy. Ro Khanna, you are a dumbass. We're a republic, not a democracy. Anyway, he wrote that in a post on X. Whatever. AOC called the move a huge slap in the face, describing a wide sense of betrayal within the party. Well, yeah, these people are, they're basically discombobulated all over the place. So Schumer, of course, is going to have to live with this for a little while, at least until the next big thing comes. Because if there's one thing that the Democrats are definitely good at, It's short-term memories. They cannot remember past, I'll give them 30 days. It's likely less than that, but I'll give them 30 days. Okay. And so anyway, yeah, the hardcore leftists in the parties, they went nuts over it. But yeah. So there you go. Well, we're keeping the government open for a little while anyway. So let's turn our attention a little bit here to some more mainstream media leftist lunatic hosts. Yeah. Lawrence O'Donnell announced on, I think it was on Rachel Maddow's show. Let's see, where was it? It was, let's see, he announced, or he revealed on Wednesday night that he was exhausted covering Donald Trump, and that he was going to take a week off from hosting his show called The Last Word, lamenting that it was only day 52. Oh my gosh, this guy. Oh, this guy. He apparently told Rachel Maddow, this is where I thought that they were on the same show. But anyway, he says, I know, this is what he's telling to Rachel, Russia Rachel. I know you've pledged to cover and be here for the first 100 days of the Trump's presidency. I hope you noticed that I did not make that same pledge. Maddow, of course, who usually hosts her show once a week on the network, recently committed to hosting her program daily for the duration of Trump's first 100 days in office. Now, O'Donnell says, this is day 52. I thought it was day 92. It turns out it's day 52, Rachel, and I'm exhausted at day 52. And so I'm going to take next week off. And I'm telling you that now because I know you don't like it when I just drift away. I'm just taking next week off. Then I can come back and go with you all the way to the 100 days. Maddow, of course, responded really nicely. She's like, we all tell each other that you have to take care of yourself. You have to pace yourself. You've got to be in this for the long haul, so I can't hold it against you, but I'm very sad. Yeah. And then she jokingly asks, can I go with you? Oh. This is the guy. This is the moron right here. There he is. If he thinks that the first 52 days are bad, I got to tell you, I'm expecting the next 3+ more years to be just absolute. You know, he might as well just quit right now. I mean, let's just face it. Just quit. Just go. Dude, we don't need to. Well, I mean, I don't even know what your ratings are, to be honest with you, O'Donnell, but yeah, I mean, I just dude, you know, you guys are just so bad. You're horrible. You're just like, oh my gosh, this is the sky is falling. You remind me so much of frickin' Chicken Little. Every single one of you on the mainstream media outlets, you guys remind me of Chicken Little. You're running around like chickens with your head cut off and, you know, yelling and screaming about Trump and the end of the world and so on and so forth. Yet, no, we're still here. We're still here. Nothing's going to happen. Oh, and when you were talking about Trump in his first term, saying that he was going to usher in World War III, what the heck happened? Biden was the one that was getting closer and closer to World War III. Anyway, and here, just for fun, here's Rachel Maddow, also known as Russia Rachel. Some people call her Rachel Mad Cow, whatever. She's pledged to be on the job for the first 100 days. Yeah. Anyway. Speaking of her, by the way, she's not doing all that great either. This, according to the Daily Fetched, MSNBC, which of course the entire freaking, I mean, let's be honest, the entire freaking network is in trouble. But Rachel Maddow actually lost a quarter of her viewers since Trump's victory. So apparently Russia, Rachel, sweetheart, and believe me, she looked a lot better as a blonde in high school. But anyway, sorry, that was bad. But anyway, even her going to every single day, 100 days, hasn't helped her ratings. Obviously, it's made them worse. Apparently, so anyone with half a brain cell, this is in the Daily Fetched, anyone with half a brain cell knows exactly why this has happened. For years, Maddow has been race baiting, calling millions of Americans fascists, and pushing the fake Russia collusion hoax. Now it looks like the chickens are finally coming home to roost. Trump's election victory was the final straw for her. No longer can she pretend that she's talking to the majority, when in fact she's spouting her unhinged leftist propaganda to a shrinking echo chamber. From January of 2024 until Election Day, the Rachel Maddow Show averaged 2.3 millions of viewers. However, since Election Day, she has shed 22%, dropping to an average audience of $1.8 million 1.8 million viewers, not dollars, viewers from Trump's election victory, all the way up through March 7th. So, yeah. Okay. And the Fox News apparently reported that the decline is even more dramatic among the advertiser-coveted demographic of adults aged 25 through 54. Hey, I still fit in that. As the Rachel Maddow Show lost 29% in that critical category when comparing her post-election day audience to 2024's total before Trump's decisive win over then Vice President Kamala Harris. So there you go. There you go. Maddow has also dropped 24% among both total viewers and the key demographic when comparing the first 2 months of 2025 to her audience during the first 2 months of 2024, indicating that MSNBC viewers aren't as interested as they were when former President Biden occupied the White House. So, yeah, she's still apparently even facing the possibility of being fired, as her MSNBC executives have already culled the majority of her production team. So this keeps going down. I mean, look, this isn't like what I do. What I do here, I mean, granted, I am not a big channel. In fact, I'm not even what you would consider a drop in the bucket, okay, for all of this. And so, you know, when I hear things like having over 1 million viewers, that's something that I right now am only dreaming about, is having millions of viewers. And yet I still come here Monday through Friday and Saturday and stream to all of you because of the fact that I have a dedication to all of you. You come here I won't say every single one, but most of you are here every single time that I stream. And every single one of you matter to me as a content creator. And I would love to continue that to a wider audience, okay? And maybe some of that will pick up because, unfortunately, for the streaming world, today was Dan Bongino's last show. He starts as the deputy director of the FBI on Monday. He has fully divested himself from his podcasting, streaming business. His wife, Paula, has taken it over. They've now turned it over into a company called Silverlock. Okay. And that is, I mean, honestly, I couldn't have picked or couldn't have thought a better person. I mean, I personally would have I would have picked him for any various number of offices, whether it was director of the FBI, deputy directors, cool. You know, Kash Patel is the director. We also had director of the Secret Service on his radar as well. And even though he ended the show today, he ended the show with an apropos title, which is essentially, "We'll see you on the other side." I have a sneaking suspicion that no matter what happens up in D.C., that when his stint is over and the job is done, he will come back to television and radio once again. So just keep that in mind. Now, he does have a new guy who is supposed to be really very good. I haven't heard from him yet, or haven't heard of him yet, that is taking over his radio show and taking over his podcast. And apparently that starts at 10. It'll start at 10 a.m. instead of 11 a.m. On Rumble, I think. And his first, and I can't think of the gentleman's name, but the first interview that he's going to interview is Tucker Carlson. And they also have Don Jr. on tap as well. So there you go. But anyway, I mean, it's kind of a sad day, but an exciting day, of course, for that. And thank you, Ms. T of Texas. Vince is the gentleman's name. So, and next week he's going to have Tucker and Don Jr. on the program. So give that a shot, I guess. I'll give him a try. Not gonna, you know, not necessarily gonna, it's gonna feel different no matter what. So it'll have to be like a new thing. But anyway, so yeah, so there you go. He finished out strong, I would say. And it's actually, his last episode is still up there. So you can go and take a look at rumble.com/Bongino, I think it is. And, take a look. All right. Well, I wish some of these people that are standing up and trying to obstruct the reconstruction of the American government and of the American financial sector, let's be honest. And speaking of that really quickly, I mean, the stock market did a little bit of a rebound. The losses that they had, the losses that the stock market had earlier this week have somewhat recovered. I won't say they've fully recovered, but have somewhat recovered in a rally today, which is good to see. But unfortunately, the Dems still haven't learned that it's time for them to step aside and let the adults in the room take charge. This, in the Daily Signal, Dem governors get strategy for National Guard deployment and executive orders to resist Trump. Now, these guys apparently have been meeting and have put together an alliance called the Governor's Action Alliance. And this founded a group called the Governors Safeguarding Democracy, which have put together a playbook, a resistance playbook, and that has been sent out. And it includes, according to the Daily Signal here, it includes draft executive orders to defy the administration's immigration policies, as well as instructions on how to deploy the National Guard. Now, keep in mind, okay, don't forget that the National Guard can be sent or can be deployed by the governors. The National Guard is not like the regular Army. The National Guard actually has two masters. One, which is its primary one, is the governors of the states, okay, the civilian authority. And this is part of the reason why things like the Insurrection Act and the Posse Comitatus Act were put into place. Okay, now, this playbook apparently is about 126 pages, includes emails, talking points, and a, quote, firewalling for freedom template gubernatorial executive order. Now, this booklet was obtained in a public records request from the office of Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro by a private nonprofit watchdog group called Government Accountability and Oversight, and it was shared with the Daily Signal. The documents themselves, according to the piece here, offer a potential glimpse into what's ahead as Democrat-run states prepare to clash with the federal government. The organization laying out the strategy is run by a host of former staffers for Democrat governors and liberal organizations, including NARAL, Pro-Choice America, Demos, and Common Cause. So this firewall for freedom directs that no state agency, employee, or agent may comply with a request for information or assistance if they have reason to believe the request is in furtherance of any investigation, arrest, prosecution, or other sanctions of conduct initiated by federal authorities or out-of-state authorities. This includes no assistance to federal officials regarding healthcare services lawful under state law, and no assistance to the federal government to identify or apprehend a person in order to subject them to civilian immigration detention, removal, or deportation proceedings, or, quote, to prosecute a person or persons for offenses related to immigration status. Now, I want to point out something to you. These governors who are doing all of this, there's one thing that they have forgotten, or that they literally don't know, which is essentially that the sheriffs in their state can arrest them for not complying with laws. The sheriff, and I've pointed this out before, the sheriff is the only law enforcement officer that is recognized because they are elected, and that they have the capacity to enforce the law regardless of whether the governor or state police or any of these other folks think that this is a good idea. The sheriffs trump them, pun intended, trump them in their counties. So even though they're sitting here talking about all of this, the sheriff of a county can defy these orders as unconstitutional or any other thing. Now, I'm not necessarily suggesting that any of them do this, but I suggest that they look up and prepare themselves because of the fact, and I'm talking to the sheriffs, because of the fact that these people are now starting to get and flirt with the idea that they are going to go against their, and meaning the states, we'll call it an oath or promise, to the federal government to follow the Constitution and its laws, because the Constitution of the United States of America is the law of the land. It was accepted by all 50 states when they joined the Union. And so because of this, these folks are flirting with some very, very interesting potential legal battles coming down the pike. Because immigration enforcement and immigration itself is one of the few items that are listed in Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution as a 100% full constitutionally mandated authority of the federal government. These guys are flirting with that. These guys are flirting with that. And Red, I gotta go back. It's titled The Constitutional Sheriff. So, well, let me just see if I can do a quick look up here, and maybe I'll be able to find it. Just give me a second here. Let's see. Constitutional Sheriff. Let's see what that is. Oh, it's going to be like way far down in the list here. So, If you want to learn more about the constitutional sheriff, by the way, here it is. It's episode 130. It was done 2 years ago. Episode 130, back when this show was under the Whiskey Musings flag. You can go and check it out. So it's again here. Let me give you guys the link here in all of the chats. Boom. There it is. And it's based off of the book called The Constitutional Sheriff. It's based off the book called The Constitutional Sheriff in that Sheriff Robert Mack, I believe its name's Robert Mack, put together for the Institute on the Constitution, which that book, by the way, it's a very quick read. It's a very, very, very quick read about it. And yeah, you should go and take a look and check it out. It's a good book. Good book. But anyway, so yeah, so these guys are just they're flirting it. They're flirting with this. So not to mention the fact that I think they also forget too that the National Guard can actually be called up by the president, not to operate on American soil. Okay. Not to operate on American soil because they can't until the governors call them in. But he could, if the National Guard gets deployed with the idea that the governors are going to have them defend the state. You could have the National Guard get called up by the president. Oh boy, we're talking some serious federalism questions right here in terms of this entire situation. But yeah, these guys are planning on doing something here as far as this goes. And, yeah. So Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and, of course, Colorado Governor Jared Polis are the co-chairs of this governor's safeguarding democracy. And they're not really safeguarding democracy either, by the way. They really aren't. So, yeah. So neither has signed such an executive order as far as we know. Though Pritzker has supported Illinois' litigation against Trump's immigration policies and said that the Trump administration officials are threatening people, we're just standing up for people who live in our state and in our city. But anyway, buddy, good point. It's called the Shire Reeve, Reeve, So the word sheriff, just to kind of cover this because the chat's going off on this. The shire was generally the way that the in the Old English term was a reference to an area where people lived, and the shire reeve, okay, was the king's representative in the shire. And so that is eventually throughout time in history turned into the term sheriff, which is why the sheriff is still elected as of today. That hasn't really changed. But this is part of what the book, The Constitutional Sheriff, which I have on the, I'd have to go get it. But the Constitutional Sheriff actually kind of discusses this. And this is part of the reason why the sheriff is the only recognized true law enforcement official in the county. All of your city police, all of your state police, those guys are nominated or put into posts by the governor and or the mayor of the city. The sheriff, on the other hand, is elected by the people of the county and can actually and does have actual legal authorities that are outside of what is available for a state police, like the captain, state police captain, or whatever it is, and the chief of police in a town. The sheriff can actually overrule both of them. So yeah. Anyway. So there you go. Okay. Well, let's move on from there, because realistically, I got to tell you, these two guys, I wish these two people would just like go away, especially this first guy. This first guy is a complete and utter moron. He's a lying, stolen valor coward. And yet he's still trying to make it. He's set his sights apparently on 2028. And I don't, oh, sorry. Wrong button. Anyway, I don't understand why this guy just doesn't like disappear. I really don't. I really don't. But here in CNN, Tim Walz has decided to launch a national tour of town halls. And he's focusing on red districts. Okay? Republican House districts. What is this guy going to do? Is he going to stand there and wave at the people? I mean, what the hell? Anyway, he's supposedly headed back out on the road. This again, according to CNN, this time in a tour or for a tour of House districts represented by Republicans who have stopped holding in-person town halls amid the raucous receptions of some of their colleagues have gotten around across the country. The Minnesota governor, 2024 vice presidential candidate, will start on today. He started in Iowa. Okay. In a district represented by Representative Zach Nunn, but then he's going to head across the border to Nebraska for a district represented by Don Bacon. That's a nice last name. I like that. Everything's better with Bacon. Both of whom won tight races for re-election last year. Walz's team is already planning stops in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Ohio for the coming weeks, with more expected to be added. Walz said he felt obligated to step up. He said there was just a primal scream of folks recognizing what's going on with the Trump administration, their authoritarian tendencies. That was the Democrats, moron. And what they viewed was a lack of proper response from their representatives. He told CNN on Wednesday. It was about these Republican representatives recognizing this stuff's really unpopular. Yeah, that's a lie. It's not unpopular. In fact, it's very popular. That's the reason why we keep referring to the things that Trump is doing as the 80-20 things, because 80% of the time, the people, regardless of what political party, believe in it. Anyway, To continue, he says, so they're going to quit the town halls. These folks need to be heard. They need to be heard and to be candid with you. Democratic leadership needs to hear them. Yeah. His plans apparently started with a post last week on X, which I responded to and said, you're a lying, stolen valor coward who should never be allowed near near public office ever again and fade off into a historical obscurity forever. I don't know why it took me that long to get that out. Anyway, moving on. Walz said he had been overwhelmed by the response to that tweet. Really? Yeah. Yeah, I doubt it. And he says that his staff had been sifting through what an aide told CNN was hundreds of invitations from local party leaders and candidates asking him to come. He said he found that response reassuring after he and Kamala Harris lost to Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. Yeah. Walz said, I always feared that they would become apathetic after this last election and just check out. But they're not doing that. Yeah, no, that wasn't why they were hired by the American people, you moron. Anyway, I'm so done with this guy. Anyway, so apparently he's going to run around and talk about tampons in men's restrooms and the fact that he carried a weapon of war or in war, even though he never was there. Yeah, anyway, whatever. Well, there's another Democrat dude, at least I think he's a dude. Anyway, dude who is foregoing 2026 to look at and set his sights on 2028. I wish we could get rid of this guy too. Pete Buttigieg, Mr. Transportation, because I like trains myself, himself, is reported to be skipping 2026 and focusing on 2028 in a big move. This, according to RVM News. Former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg is expected to announce on Thursday, that was yesterday, that he will not seek Michigan's open U.S. Senate seat, according to a report from Politico. The decision leaves the door open for Buttigieg's widely anticipated bid for the presidency in 2028. So, folks, we have basically, as of right now, likely candidates. Pete Buttigieg, Tim Walz from the Democrat side, and, of course, Vice President J.D. Vance in 2028. Now, I know he's not thinking about 2028 yet, and realistically, none of us should be thinking about it. But this guy, Transportation Secretary, former Transportation Secretary, yeah, Pete Buttigieg. So he had previously expressed interest in running for the Senate seat that was vacated by retiring Democrat Senator Gary Peters. However, a person briefed on Buttigieg's plans told Politico that he now intends to forego a Senate campaign, opting instead to position himself for a potential presidential run. Allies of Buttigieg framed the decision as a strategic move to avoid challenging races in both 2026 and 2028, which could complicate his path to the White House. Yeah, by the way, too, and Buddy brings it up here in the chat, AOC is another one. AOC is another one that's there floating, as well as Jasmine Crockett as another possibility. I'm going to tell you, probably what's going to end up happening in 2025. No, 2027. Wow. What's probably going to happen in 2027 is you're going to see a massive, in fact, J.B. Pritzker was even talking about becoming, trying to run for president. So yeah, they all are, they're all lining up. And I would bet that, you remember when, Biden was in, you had Biden and Kamala Harris and everybody before Iowa, back in 2020 or 2019, when they were all standing on that debate stage. You had, I think, something close to 10 individuals there. Yeah. Sure. So they're all going to be there. And believe me, I'm sure that once it gets a little closer to 2027, J.D. Vance is just going to be licking his chops. Oh my gosh. Just think of how much these clowns are going to be handing a master debater such as J.D. Vance. And yes, I did that on purpose because if you put them together, it gets... Anyway, just imagine what J.D. Vance, it will be sitting there going, all right, line them up once they get, line them up, boys. And he's getting his bat ready to start fielding the balls because they are all nutballs that are going to go out after this. Oh, my gosh. Anyway, according to Politico, according to many people, they seem to think that Booty Judge is a high-profile figure in the Democrat Party. And currently, apparently, they say polls only behind Kamala Harris in early speculation for the 2020 race. Yeah, that's going to be fun. 2027. If we thought this last one, 2024, was a clown show, let's just wait until 2027 when all these morons start lining up. All right. Before I go, I do want to tell you we have an update on the Hunter Biden suing lawsuit that he brought against who was it? Against former White House aide Garrett Ziegler. Apparently, Hunter Biden asked for a dismissal of his case, and the California federal judge, Herman Vera, said on Thursday that he granted the Biden request to drop the case or dismiss the case against the White House aide. Biden apparently claimed that he can't get out of debt because no one is buying his memoir and art, and because his family was forced to relocate from their posh Malibu home, rental home, by the way, after the wildfires. So anyway, the funny thing is, there's pictures by the Post that shows his house right here in this red square. The house that they were renting wasn't even touched, apparently, from the outside. Now, whether or not the inside, I'll be honest with you, whether or not the inside has any problems or any issues, it's unclear. But yeah, the area surrounding his house got hit, but not him. So anyway, his house is still standing. So it's, yeah, Tommy, I appreciate that. So anyway, he dropped the case, and the judge, of course, told him that, hey, I'm going to drop the case for you, but you can't bring it back. Now, the Ziegler tried to fight against that because of the fact that Ziegler wanted to go after Hunter Biden in order to get his legal fees back. So anyway, so there you go. Things are starting to fall apart for the Biden family completely. All right, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free once you are signed up and signed in. Make sure you find or search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time I go live. Also, too, on your way out, hit those thumbs up and like buttons across all my platforms, whether it's X, Facebook, YouTube, and, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 1 hour later, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great start to your weekend. We'll see you tomorrow night, and good night, everybody.